The pain of regret is one of the most excruciating pains I've ever experienced. And I've also heard it said that the definition of hell is meeting the person who you should have become. Men, if you don't do this work and you continue existing instead of thriving, if you continue to let these wounds fester in your life and you continue living energy neutral and average is all that you strive for, the pain of regret at the end of life is excruciating. Don't be that guy.
I feel men out there hearing that and it's like, yeah, finally someone calling me forward into knowing I'm more than I am and be willing to allow it to hurt a little bit. And when we say hurt, there's an important aspect of men's work. We briefly mentioned it on the previous episode, but once we have an awareness of what's going on, there's a real acknowledgement that happens of the pain that you've held, that you've repressed, that you've experienced, in whatever way you took it on. And that's a little unique to each man. And when that moves through the system, it's not that we relive that pain, but we must be with that pain enough for it to be able to move. And when we do that, that's where the transformation occurs. So often it could be messy, it could be hard, it could be challenging. But this is where men build and use courage and fortitude and trust and vulnerability and presence. Funnily enough, all the things that women want from men.
Who knew?
And these are the things that men, it's hardest for us to do. And frankly, again, it's not your fault what happened to you. It's your responsibility as a man to deal with it. And whether it's Ignite the King or any other men's work out there, the point is to start doing the work.
Yeah.
It's to be in community, find a brotherhood of men, and not just a social thing. Like, do it with intention. Go with the purpose of being able to talk, express, hold space, witness.
Drinking beer, talking about girls, smoking cigars and playing poker may be fun. That's not brotherhood. That's not what we're talking about. That ability to be vulnerable, again, for all of you to be seen.
And a lot of this comes down to making yourself a priority. And be willing to invest in yourself, whether that's going to a weekend like this or whether it's buying a course or whether it's finding a men's group in your area. It's going to cost you a bit to do that. You're going to have to choose that over other things and make it a priority and make you a priority. And you're going to have to say no to things. And this really works on that pleaser shadow that we talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have sovereignty, as we talked about on another episode, if you don't have sovereignty over yourself and constantly giving to everyone else, what's going to happen is it's going to show up as, I think men really need to get this. The shit that you don't deal with, it doesn't really go away. It will show up bigger and louder and stronger every time you don't deal with it. And it's like, we talk about the feather, the brick, or the truck. And it's like, just know that there's work to do. If you're a man saying, I have no work to do, well, honestly, I'm just going to say next, because if you're not even willing to acknowledge his work, you need to start somewhere.
I think delusional is the correct word.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Work. Like, I have shit to look at myself. Yeah. And we're just men that we're further along in that path, man. If I would have, and I definitely found personal growth in my 20s, right? I didn't find men's work until 2016. So, already a father. But man, if I would have found this type of work as a teenager, wow, that would have been interesting. That's what I'm doing with my son, right?
Yeah.
He's like, when can I come to an immersion? When can I come to an immersion?
9.
Like, he's like, I'm ready to be there. I'm like, a couple more years.
Yeah.
Well, future casting of a,
right.
program for the youngers.
Yeah. I don't remember who originally said it, Tony Robbins, whoever, whatever. You have to choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And this isn't about coming to immersion, not about being disciplined. But when you talk about that, making yourself priority, the pain of regret is one of the most excruciating pains I've ever experienced. And I've also heard it said that the definition of hell is meeting the person who you should have become.
Yep.
Men, if you don't do this work and you continue existing instead of thriving, if you continue to let these wounds fester in your life and you continue living energy neutral and average is all that you strive for, the pain of regret at the end of life is excruciating. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Step up. Step into the uncomfortable. Step into the unknown. Know that you are meant for more and fucking claim it. That's what these immersions are about.
Yeah. I would love for us to, and I'm thinking right off the cuff on this, but what can you recall as a energy or a lesson that came from a powerful experience and an immersion that we can offer the men as wisdom as we start to bring ourselves, into the end of this episode? And I'm calling myself out on this, but just real like poignant moments that were so transformational. And I'll share one right off the bat. And it is a little bit of sharing one of the processes, but it's fine. We have so many of these things that we do. But there was a moment, it was during, I think, our lover immersion, where we had the men lined up facing each other. And Russell read a beautiful story or poem. I don't remember what it was. And for a minute, the men stared back and forth in each other's eyes and just held presence. And then when the minute was up, we rotated and the next man, and we did that till every man connected eyes for a minute with each man. And it was so beautiful because it was very reverent. And to feel men's hearts open in that way, where not a word had to be said, but just allowing someone to look into your eyes. We call eyes the gateway to the soul, all the stuff, but it is a vulnerable place. How often, and look at humans walking around the streets now. People, they're stuck in their phones, but no one looks each other in the eye anymore.